Hey, and welcome to the Pro Audio Suite. Yeah. Starring Robert Marshall, Funky Dude Whittam. Oh, that's ridiculous.
Like my carpeting is starting to shag out.
That's right. That's right. Your tuft grew.
Yeah, exactly. My shirt is now puffy with hair.
Man, we needed a laugh right now.
Much
to laugh about.
Yeah, exactly. That'll make you smile.
Yeah. Now, we should thank our sponsors, Austrian Audio, Making Passion Heard, and TriBooth. Don't forget the code TRIPAP200 to get $200 off your TriBooth. Now, talking about booths, there's a few bits and pieces that popped up online. One in particular I saw this morning. Visually, it looked absolutely awful, but according to Robbo, it sounded really good. So what is the key to a booth and what makes it work?
Well, according to us, it sounds really good because the person we're talking about has actually been on the show. But, I would think it's pretty obvious, really, isn't it? 0 reflections and as little noise as you can possibly let into a recording, and a good spot in the house that's going to give you the best possibility of doing that. I think Tanae's booth is in the middle of the house. It's in a walk-in wardrobe, so it's away from open windows and all the rest of it. And probably the noisiest spot is going to be whatever comes in through the roof, through the plasterboard in the ceiling. Or if you're me, my wife talking in the background while I'm recording the podcast as well. That will do it.
That's right. I actually built one. It was a temporary thing I put together when we were traveling. And by all accounts, it should not have worked. It should have been awful, but it sounded really good. And it was like a cupboard in an apartment in Rome. And Rome is very noisy. But it was like tucked in the middle of the apartment. It had a bunch of shelves with a few blankets and bits and bobs on. I popped on the shelf the porta booth. Then to my side, there was like a clothes rack, which I threw another blanket over. And someone was hanging some stuff off the back of the door from memory. Anyway, it sounded amazing. It worked perfectly. Looked like shit, but sounded good.
So 2 questions about it. How big was the space and how parallel were the hard surfaces?
The surfaces were parallel. The ceiling was probably 12-foot ceiling in there. And then there were shelves where I sort of put the porta booth on the shelf, but there was all sorts of other bits and pieces in there. To my left was the clothes rack that I put a blanket over. Then behind me was the door, which had stuff hanging off the back of it. But to the right, there was no treatment at all. It was just plasterboard.
And how far back was the door behind you? Was it?
And it had
a distance back?
Well, it was a rectangle. So it was probably a meter wide, and probably depth would be 2.5 meters, I guess.
So pretty good depth. The width wasn't awesome, but the depth was pretty good. Because I think that a lot of what makes booths, like the first thing is it's got to be dead. And then once it's like, not considering how loud or noise isolated it is, but just the sound of the booth itself. The first thing is you got to deaden everything.
And people don't realize what it takes to do that properly.
It takes thick, not really thin absorption, because a lot of the thin absorption lets all those low frequencies through. So it's got to have some thicker absorption.
And the smaller the booth, the thicker the treatment you need. So it works against you. So as it gets smaller, it gets smaller.
Yeah, you lose more space, basically. But if the booth is big, the sound becomes much more neutral because the nodes don't get as intertwined and as amplified as well, especially in those lower frequencies that really get up into the voice range. So a booth that has a good volume of air and is dead, I think will sound better than any small booth. And then if you can't have a good volume of air, the next thing that can help is non-parallel surfaces can kind of fake a bigger volume. It can create more, what's the word? Oblique reflections, I think is that the word, George? So
it's
size matters.
Well, I mean, having angled walls and stuff, the thing that's so difficult about the angled wall thing is it's not predictable. So you may end up getting really lucky or really unlucky. And then if it doesn't sound great,
it could bounce it right back in the mic and with the wrong angle, right?
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes they create more. They're harder to model, meaning like it's harder to take like a pentagonal floor plan or something with more sides and shove that into, a computer and say, tell me what frequencies I have to worry about. It's much harder.
Yeah.
So then it just becomes a lot more.
The math exponentially gets more complex.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of people have a very haphazard way of treating their booths anyway. It's a lot of trial and error to begin with. That's, when you see product booths like the one we're talking about and so many other home booths, is they didn't map out the room, then buy blankets, mattresses, and foam. They just sort of eventually get to a point where it sounds good. It's almost never I bought all this stuff and stuck it up and, oh, wow, it sounds good. It usually takes time and adding and tweaking. So when you have a non-square or non-rectangular floor plan, that just is harder to do. But yeah, it's not hard if the room is larger, because larger rooms, as Robert was saying, they don't build up such standing waves. These are called room modes. Those are the things that make you sound like you are in a box or in a tube. If those big spaces don't have them, they really only have reverb, which is that long tail.
And then if you deaden sound all the walls up, you don't have the reverb. You don't have the long.
Well, not only that, but when you have a big room, the deadening of the walls is much simpler because it's really just covering large amounts of area with soft material. It's when the room gets smaller and smaller, you can't just put blankets or foam on the walls anymore because you need much thicker, denser material, or really thicker, to trap low frequencies. So it gets trickier and trickier as it gets smaller and smaller, and ends up being the panels have to be thicker and thicker.
One studio I went into this years ago, and they just built a new studio, and they had like a foot in diameter tubes that stood on their ends in the corners.
Yeah, they're called tube traps.
Were they on their own stand? They were basically like on their own mic stand, and they're just like around.
Well, they were floor to ceiling, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Those are interesting. The tube traps are really great products, but what's interesting about them is that they have a reflective side and an absorbing side. And part of their trick is to diffuse and scatter the sound or to absorb it. And it depends on how you arrange them.
One of the chamber reverbs at Abbey Road has columns in it for exactly the opposite reason. It's got like sort of concrete pillars and stuff, so you can mic around them and get all sorts of different sort of room verby sounds.
Create bounces.
Yeah, create different bounces and stuff.
Create reflections.
For exactly the opposite reason. But yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, I've seen and been in some rooms with tube traps.
Well, I mean, an interesting type of diffuser is the curved.
Yeah, I mean, they work really well too.
Like one diffuser that everyone's really used to is the one that's like different depths of squares that are at different depths. I think, and those are usually referred to usually as quadratic diffusers. But the other one is just a curved surface, and that has a bunch of different levels that the sound can bounce off of and go into different directions. And cheap, easy way to make diffusion.
Yeah, I've been in some great
just curve it convex, not concave.
Curves have to be convex. Yeah, that's really important. So in other words, the curves have to be protruding outward toward you, not inward away from you. Those are much more of a problem. So you don't want those curves to focus sound in a parabolic way, like a dish antenna for a satellite. Those are designed to focus.
George, have you ever been to the museum here in Chicago? There's the Museum of Science and Industry, and there's a display that has, you're like 50 feet away from each other, but you're standing in the perfect focal point of 50 feet away, two like parabolic discs, and you can whisper to each other, and there can be 50 people in between you, and you can talk to each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Up the top of St. Paul's Cathedral, you'll get the same thing. You got the whispering sort of wall up there, the whispering dome.
Oh,
I love that.
Yeah,
sure. That's really neat. Even in I don't know if you've been to many planetariums. It's really cool in a planetarium. Well, maybe not cool, but sometimes you'll be able to eavesdrop in on a conversation on the other side of the planetarium. I mean, you'll just hear
Because it just
voices
bounces around the curve of the outside wall.
Yeah, and then you'll hear a voice. It's the more close to the edge you're sitting, the better. So if like you're way towards the back near the edge, it's like crazy. You'll hear a conversation almost like they're sitting next to you, and they're all the way on the other side. It's pretty trippy. It's really interesting.
Because like what the diffuser, what the convex part diffuses, the concave part focuses. So make sure your curved diffusers, if you're going that way, are convex.
You guys want to troubleshoot Austin Keys' studio on the show?
Sure. We can continue from today. Let's dive into Austin Keys'.
He says I can't record his 416 right. He's texting me right now. He can't use his 416, so he doesn't know what to do.
Oh my God. But I left him working. So
Robert graciously took an emergency call for this client of mine this morning while I was in a meeting. And he just doesn't know the topology of the studio and has no idea what's there. And he tried his best, but the client didn't tell Robert I have a Mackie mixer in my booth also. So to wrap up that conversation, I would say the best way to wrap that up would be it's not how it looks, it's how it sounds. And we all know what it's supposed to sound like. And if you don't know, let us know, because we spend our days day in, day out listening to all of your studios. And, as long as you're not appearing on camera for like an animation gig, because here in the States, definitely a lot of people are doing remotely directed animation and they're on Zoom calls all the time. And you may not want it to look too bad, but remember, it only has to look good in the frame of your webcam. So if the whole place is a mess, but you have a really pretty, tapestry on the wall behind you, then you're good.
Yeah, true. The illusion.
And if not, for the lowest fee possible, George the Tech will send you a background that you can use as a fake background for a studio in your Zoom meeting.
Right.
With GTT on it.
Yes, on the walls. Every GTT room looks the same, but they sound different.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to TriBooth and Austrian Audio, recorded using Source Connect, edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Robbo. Got your own audio issues? Just ask Robbo.com. With tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.